All right, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sport Reported. Tonight, we're going to be doing our 2021-2022 English Premier League predictions. Of course, I am joined by Jason. How are you, mate?
No, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, the Premier League season started this weekend, so we were a little bit late. But of course, after match day one, you get slight impressions, but it's you know it's very, very early doors. So, we're sticking obviously with our preseason predictions. And we'll take it from there. So let's get into our predictions. How this is going to go is we're gonna go alphabetically through the teams in the league, and we're going to talk about each team at the time, and then we're going to say where we both of us think that they're going to finish. So is that all right, Jason?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so let's begin then, of course, with Arsenal. Arsenal are they're a very, very strange club at the minute. It's so weird to have seen their decline over the last 10, 15 years. The first sort of Arsenal team I really properly remember is just post Invincible era, so like 2007, 2008. Fabregas, Rosicky, Adebayor. So it's very much been a decline since then, because of course it was finishing fourth every season. That was kind of the theme under Wenger, and then they just slipped out of that and dropped into the Europa League, and now they haven't even got Europe. Something is seriously wrong at the football club. But this is the transfer business that they've done. So transfers coming in: Ben White from Brighton Hove Albion for £52.65 million. Albert Sambi Lokonga for £15.75 million from RSC Anderlecht. Nuno Tavares for £7.2 million from Benfica. And then they've got two players returning from loan spells: Lucas Torreira and Said Kolasinac returning from Atletico Madrid and FC Schalke. Heading the other way, heading out the door, are David Luiz, whose contract expired and it wasn't renewed. Dani Ceballos and Martin Odegaard. As of now, Odegaard have returned to Real Madrid, or in theory have. Whether Odegaard will sign or not, we don't know yet. Matt Ryan returned to Brighton and Hove Albion. And then Matteo Guendouzi has been sent to Marseille for a season-long loan. William Saliba has been sent to OGC Nice for a season-long loan. And Konstantinos Mavropanos has been sent to Stuttgart.
What a name.
What a name, yeah. So that is the transfer business that they've done. I'll just give you a quick run through of what they got now. So goalkeepers, they got Bernd Leno, Alex Runner-Runnison, Arthur Okonkwo and Carl Hayne. Defenders: Hector Bellerin, Kieran Tierney, Ben White, Gabriel Magalhaes, Rob Holding, Cedric Suarez, Nuno Tavares, Callum Chambers, Pablo Mari and Said Kolasinac. Midfielders: Thomas Partey, Emil Smith-Rowe, Lucas Torreira, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Albert Lokonga, Mohamed El-Neni and Granit Xhaka. And then forwards, of course, it includes wingers: Bukayo Saka, Alexander Lacazette, Willian, Pierre Aubameyang, Nicolas Pepe, Reece Nelson, Folarin Balogun, Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Martinelli. So what do you think about Arsenal's business, first things first?
It's not been great.
No.
I think Ben White for 52 million is a tad expensive.
Tad?
Yeah, it's tad. We'll go with tad.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know too much about Lokonga from Anderlecht, but £15 million doesn't seem too bad. Also played the other night as well. And Tavares from Benfica for 7 million, which I think is just a backup for Tierney.
I think that's a good signing.
Yeah.
Signing.
Obviously, I know they're trying to get Odegaard in, which would be a good signing, but he wasn't he was all right for them, but he wasn't nothing special. Like,
he had a couple of moments, didn't he? But
yeah, he's not someone that's going to fear any of the other top six sides.
Yeah,
I think obviously with Arsenal, it'll be hard for them to attract players this summer because of the fact they have no Europe.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, I mean, Arteta's done well to get rid of some of the deadwood at their club, which have just been sat around for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of players that aren't at the level of Arsenal Football Club, really. And yeah, I think it's been an average window for them, really.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know obviously Arsenal aren't in Europe. as you said, that affects their pool. I also know that when it comes to in comparison to your Chelseas and your Man Cities and even Uniteds, they don't have the same funds. However, I still question when they're spending over £50 million on Ben White. Nothing against Ben White. I think he's a pretty good centre back. However, when you consider that, I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't think he was even Brighton's best centre back last season. And obviously, as well, you're asking him to go from playing on the right side of a back three, I think it was the right side of a back three, to essentially, if they're going to continue playing four at the back, to become right side of a two. So that's a big difference. And he's like they said in the Brentford game, he's not got that sort of height and that aerial dominance. And Ivan Toney was bullying him that game. So I think it says about their decline when you think about it, that their marquee signing or signings are possibly going to be Ben White and Aaron Ramsdale. That really shows how far they've dropped off.
I think they pulled out of Ramsdale, but
sorry,
I think they've pulled out of Ramsdale.
Is that like 100%?
I don't know. I've read somewhere that they pulled out, but
I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. And to be honest with you, I just think every season that poor recruitment, poor management has led to decline in performances. And I just think they're on a downward spiral. And to be honest with you, I really cannot see where this downward spiral stops for Arsenal. I think they've obviously got some bright sparks in their squad, the likes of Saka, the likes of Smith Rowe. But I mean, Aubameyang is obviously very good, but is he coming towards the autumn of his career? Lacazette, like I said, this is another thing where I think they'd sort of recruitment department or transfer department is a bit of a shambles. It looked as if they were trying to ship out Alexander Lacazette, and they haven't been able to do it. So I don't know what they're going to do there. But yeah, I just think the whole club's a bit of a shambles, to be completely honest with you.
I think Ben White's a good signing for the net, like for a future player, but he's not what they need right now. The current Arsenal, they need. Obviously, we know they need centre back, but I don't think he's. Obviously, there's a lot of expectation on him. He's so young and he's their biggest signing of the window, so there's a lot of expectation on him. But
yeah,
I think they're just asking quite a lot of him at this. But obviously, I think give him a few years, and I think he will become the player they signed him for. But right now, I feel like they needed a bit of experience, high quality experience at the back.
Okay. So whereabouts this season do you think Arsenal will finish?
I well, might get some laughs at me for this, but I actually put them sixth.
Okay. That is optimistic.
It is optimistic, but I feel like they haven't got Europe to worry about. Their only thing they have is the Premier League. So they can put their sole focus into that. Obviously, they didn't go off to the greatest starts, but I won't go too much into the game. But obviously, we know they had a lot of players out missing. But I think it's a big season for the likes of Pepe and players like that because
he
was actually had a good end to the season last season. The last games he was pretty good, but I just feel like they're gonna. I mean, I can't see them not missing out on Europe 2 seasons in a row. To be honest, but I think.
Really, you think?
Yeah, I think they'll sneak in sixth. I think with Arteta as well. I think Arsenal have got to keep a manager that's there for their long-term project. Or not, that's a different case. But if Arsenal want to get back to where they want to be, they're going to have to put trust into a manager and let him rebuild the way he wants to rebuild. You can't keep sacking managers every 2 years because you're just going to end up in the same cycle.
I understand that, firstly, obviously, Arsenal don't have near the resources that Chelsea do. I also understand that Arsenal, their sort of the replacements that they could get in would be nowhere near the level of Chelsea. But I do find it strange how Frank was under massive pressure quite a lot. And obviously, he did get sacked in sort of January time last season. And Arteta has had some terrible spells, and has still been manager. But I mean, I get what you're saying. They need someone for the long term. I'm just not sure if Arteta is that guy.
No, I agree. But thing is with Arteta, I do like him I do like him. But thing is, I think with his problem was where he came in straight away and won the FA Cup straight away. The expectations were set up here, so everyone just expected him to kick on just from then, and then it's just been like coming down since. Arsenal fans have got to realise they're not going to go from not being a European team to competing for the title in like the space of a season or two. It's going to take a long process to rebuild back to where they were.
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I think, I luckily I haven't seen any Arsenal fans predicting that it'll be in a title race. I have seen Arsenal fans saying that they could push for top 4 this season, which I think even that is utterly ridiculous. No disrespect.
It's going to take time for them to get near the Champions League places again.
That's what I mean. I think it's going to be a very long time until Arsenal are back in the Champions League. It's going to take a lot of rebuilding.
If you look at the pace that the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, City, United are all moving compared to Arsenal.
That's what I mean. That's what I fear is actually I think Liverpool, Chelsea, United, City are all pulling away from the rest. So it's going to become a top 4 again. Because I think Spurs are kind of stagnant, even though obviously we know the result from today. I think Spurs are a little bit stagnant now, and obviously the Harry Kane situation doesn't help them. Arsenal are just on a decline.
Leicester are trying to cling on in there. They're doing
Leicester will be there or thereabouts as well, so it could be a top 5. But I mean, there's no point in sort of labeling it as anything. It's just a case of, the clubs who are at the top each season and the clubs who are at the top each season. But my prediction for Arsenal, I'm going to go 9th. And I'm looking at this prediction now. I'm looking at my prediction for who's 10th. And maybe after today, I might change that. But for now, I'm going to go with Arsenal to finish 9th. Again, Arsenal fans won't like me saying that, but I think that's a realistic prediction because I think you've got, obviously I'm going to get into them in a bit, teams who would be considered mid-table before who are moving forward. Your Aston Villas, your Leeds Uniteds, they're all moving forward. I don't think Arsenal are moving forward. I don't think they've been moving forward for a very long time. So yeah, I think 9th place for Arsenal. So let's move on then to Aston Villa. The transfers that they've brought in, Emiliano Buendia for £34.5 million from Norwich City, Danny Ings for £31.6 million from Southampton, Leon Bailey for £28.6 million from Bayer Leverkusen. They got Ashley Young on a free from Inter Milan, Axel Tuanzebe on a season-long loan from Manchester United, Freddie Gilbert, who was returning from his loan spell at Strasbourg, and then heading out, of course, there was the Jack Grealish saga. He went to Manchester City for just over £105 million. Also sold was Mbwana Samata, who went to Fenerbahce for £5.4 million. Tom Heaton went to Manchester United on a free transfer. Bjorn Engels left for Royal Antwerp on a free transfer. And both Neil Taylor and Ahmed El Mohammadi, their contracts expired. So Aston Villa's business, how would you rate it? I mean, they've spent a lot of money, but obviously they've got a lot of money to spend at the minute. So how do you rate it?
They spent a lot of money, but I think they've spent it in the right areas. I can't fault. The main 3, Bailey, Ings, and Buendia, I think that's fantastic business. Obviously, Ings is a bit expensive with 31 million, but he's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League.
He's guaranteed to get you goals. So, I mean, is 31 million a big price to pay for someone who's probably going to at least get them 15 goals, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Buendia as well is another fantastic sign. Was Norwich's best player without a doubt. Leon Bailey as well. It's just a fantastic signing. Ashley Young's a bit of a weird one for me. I thought he was going to be a bit of depth, but he did start against Watford, which was very odd.
Over Matty Cash?
He started over Leon Bailey.
Right wing?
Left wing, I think it was.
See?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I get the team up. But
I didn't even know that. I knew he was playing at some point. I just assumed he'd come as a sub.
Watford Villa. Yeah, he started left wing with Buendia and Cam and El Ghazi on the right.
Interesting. I thought it would be depth. I swear his natural position is right back though.
I don't know. Left back. You put left back on here, but I don't know.
Oh, left back then. Sorry, yeah, it must be left back. Yeah. So it would have been.
He was a winger and a left back, wasn't
he? Yeah. So it would have been backup for Target, wouldn't it? I mean,
yeah.
on Target actually, Target had an absolute mare against Watford.
He was brought off at half time, wasn't
he? Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they got Twan-Zabian on loan from United again. I think that's a good.
I think that's very good business. He's a player I've liked for a long time. That's very good business.
And Gilbert obviously returned from his loan at Strasbourg. So I think that's good business. I mean, obviously they did lose Jack Grealish, which is a massive loss, but I think they spent the money very well. And I think they'll have a good season.
And yeah, exactly right. And I think the owner addressed it in absolutely the perfect way. You know, of course they would have loved Jack Grealish to stay, and build a dynasty with him there. But ultimately, that's not what Jack wanted. Whether Villa fans like that or not, or whether other fans agree with it, he's gone to Manchester City to win trophies. And let's be honest, he's pretty guaranteed to win trophies. He wants to further his career, and that's not really something you can blame him for, in my opinion. Of course, there's the whole, it's his boyhood club, build something with Villa, become a hero, things like that. And that's all well and good, and I would have absolutely loved if he'd done that as well, because that would have been a fantastic story. But you can't really massively blame him for wanting to go and win trophies, because he's definitely good enough.
Was 100 million the right price?
For Villa? Well, I mean, sorry, for City. I mean, we'll get onto that in a bit, I suppose, but I think it was expensive, considering he's 26, isn't he? So it's expensive, but I think he'll repay it. I would say I think he'd repay it over the years. So yeah, I mean, my thoughts on their business. I think they're all good signings. Buendia, Ings, Bailey. As much as the Ings one came out of nowhere. For Villa fans, I've heard Villa fans are sort of been pushing for a signing of a central midfielder. Hence why they've been obviously pushing for James Ward-Prowse. I think that, as much as I would have hated it, that would have capped off the perfect window for Aston Villa had they got James Ward-Prowse. I don't think they're going to get a central midfielder anymore, or if they will do, it's obviously not going to be of the calibre, I don't think, of JWP. So we'll have to wait and see what they do there. But I think they've got enough depth there. I mean, when you think about, if you're talking about a sitting role, which is they like to play that, you got McGinn, you got Nakamba, you got Douglas Luiz, and I think Sanson can drop in and play there, or he could at least play centre mid. So, I mean, they've got depth there. I don't think they'll struggle too much without another signing there. As I said, Twan-Zabian, that's excellent business. They've got depth at centre back now. The only place that would maybe slightly worry me, I mean, Twan-Zabian can cover right back. So possibly right back cover, or Freddie Gilbert. Yeah, to be fair, they've got Freddie Gilbert. So honestly, I think they're fine. Of course, they're going to miss Jack Grealish. And maybe we saw a bit of that against Watford. But I think they're going to have a really good season, as you said. So my prediction for Aston Villa, and this is controversial possibly, so a lot of people will be saying this is very optimistic for them. I think they're going to finish 5th. I think they're going to have a really good season. I think they're going to get Europa League. And here's why. I think, as I said, they're going to miss Grealish, and they might even have a slow start. But I think as soon as their players like Leon Bailey and Buendia and Ings as well, obviously all click into the team with the quality that they have in the likes of McGinn and Luiz, obviously they've got a fantastic goalkeeper in Martinez. I don't see, obviously there's no Europe, so I don't see any reason why they couldn't. And if they didn't finish 5th, I wouldn't be surprised if they went on to win a cup. I think that's the sort of season Aston Villa are looking at. Possibly they could do 1 or 2 more signings, but I honestly think they'll be fine. And I think, like I said, they've got tremendous quality all over the pitch now. I don't see why they shouldn't. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I've only put them, I was shocked at 5th, but I've put them in 7th, so I can't really say too much. I think they're going to have a great season. They're obviously a club that's on the up. They've cemented their place in this league now. And I feel like they're just a club on the up, and getting back to those European nights that they famously had. I think if they do get 7th, if it is Europe, then we won't know obviously because I think 7th's down to cups and stuff, isn't it? About Europe.
Yeah. So I believe it's obviously top 4 Champions League, 5th automatic Europa League, 6th as things stand would be Europa Conference League. But if a top 5 side wins the cup, then it's down to 7th.
It'll all come conclusive at the end of the season, but right
Yeah.
now, But yeah, I think top 7 for them. I think they got a good manager as well. I like Dean Smith. I think he's a good manager, and yeah, I think they have a good season.
Yeah. I must admit, Aston Villa are a club I've got a lot of admiration for. I think they've got a fantastic stadium, fantastic fans. Obviously, it's very good to see them back in the Premier League. I know I'd love to see them have a European run. As much as I'd love to see Saints have one. Obviously, we had one main one a few years ago. Doesn't look like we're going to have one anytime soon ever again. So, I'd like to see Villa in Europe. Why not? So 5th and 7th for Aston Villa then.
Yeah. While you read out Brentford's transfers, I'm going to quickly go to that.
No worries. Okay. So next up then, of course, we do have Brentford. So the transfer business that Brentford have done, Christopher Ayer, they bought from Glasgow Celtic for £14.13 million. Frank Onyeka, they have bought from FC Midtjylland for £9 million. Johan Visser from FC Lorient for £9 million as well. And they got Miles Part-Harris from Chelsea for £1.35 million. And then you've got some players returning from loans, quite a few actually. Julien Janvier returning from Kasimpasa, Joel Valencia returning from Legia Warsaw, Patrick Gunnarsson returning from Silkeborg, and Halil Dervisoglu returning from Galatasaray. And then going out, Henrik Dalsgaard, Luke Daniels, and Emiliano Marcondes all leaving on free transfers to FC Midtjylland, Middlesbrough, and AFC Bournemouth, respectively. And Ellery Balcom has gone out on loan to Burton Albion. So that's Brentford's business. Of course, we saw that they did the business on Friday night. Can they do the business for the whole season, Jason?
For me, in terms of just enough to stay up.
Well, just enough to stay up. That's success for the first season, isn't it?
Just about enough to stay up.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the honeymoon season for them in the Premier League. I think they've done all right business, to be fair. I mean, you wouldn't expect too much more from the first season coming up into the Prem. Obviously, signing some players from the Scottish League is always a risk because you just never know what sort of level they're going to be at compared to this league. But Ayer looks to be a good centre-back. That Frank Onyeka, he looks to be a good player, to be fair. He had a good game Friday. Going for £9 million. And Visser from Lorient, I don't have any clue about. But £9 million winger, that's not too bad. And obviously they've got a few players returning from loan as well.
Yeah.
And they've kept quite a few of their main squad together. So obviously they lost Dalsgaard, but they've managed to keep Canos, Tony, and Bamboo. So
I'm a massive fan of I think his name's Thomas Frank, Brentford's manager. Yeah. I think he's a terrific manager. Just his whole aura, the way he goes about his business. Of course, he has his Danish links, which I mean, obviously has its he's got his print on the squad. So with quite a few Danish players and getting players from Danish leagues as well. I think Christopher Ayer, as you said, is a good signing. Of course, people will say the Scottish League isn't as near the Premier League, which of course it isn't. However, he's played in Europe. He's very young still for a centre back. He's got a lot of experience for his age. He's only 22, I think. Yeah. And he's played European football before. So I think it's a good signing. I really do. And Frank Onyeka, is a signing I'm very, very admirable of, really, because I think he's a very, very good player. I've seen him play for FC Midtjylland in the Champions League last season. Of course, they played against Liverpool. He played against Liverpool with his team. FC Midtjylland are a decent side. They've played in Europe pretty frequently over the last few years, so he's played at a good level before. Like you say, I don't know much about Johan Visser, but they've got some depth coming in, which is good. It's what they're going to need for the Premier League. Of course, the big questions are whether Ivan Toney's going to step up, whether Brian Mbeumo is going to step up, Tariq Fosu, Sergio Canos. These are all big questions, of course, and they passed the first test. They've got 37 more tests to pass. As Brentford, I wouldn't be bothered about the cup competitions. I'd be bothered about staying in the Premier League. But like I say, I even think some of the business they've done in terms of players returning from loans is good. Joel Valencia returning, Julian Janvier, and the one I really like is Halil Dervisoglu, who brings another attacking option for them as well, which is as good as business, I think, for Brentford. They possibly could have got a little bit more quality in an attacking sense coming in, but other than that, I think for a promoted side, it's pretty good business. Yeah. So, in terms of players going out, they were players for the squad. One thing I will say actually is I'm not 100% convinced by their backup goalkeeper, the Icelandic player. I can't remember his name now. Patrick Gunnarsson. Of course, they had Luke Daniels, who played quite a bit at the beginning of last season because David Raya was out, and he did well, I thought. So, yeah, I think possibly they may have made a mistake there, but of course, Luke Daniels wants to play week in, week out. I think they'll have enough. I really do. I think playing at the Brentford Community Stadium, I think it'll be a difficult place to go. Not in the sense that, no disrespect, I think Brentford will be particularly raucous. I just think for the first season there, obviously it's going to be a big buzz. They haven't been in the Premier League or the top flight for 74 years. So it's going to be a difficult place to go. And like you say, they've got some good players. They make things difficult for you. I think Brentford will be fine. And I think they'll finish 15th. Jason?
I have indeed put them 15th as well.
There you go. Snap. There we go. Great minds think alike.
Finishing 15th. Get it on your bet slips.
Exactly. So, Brighton and Hove Albion.
Don't do that.
Sorry?
I said I'm joking. Don't do that.
It'll come in now, so it doesn't matter. Brighton and Hove Albion next. So let's quickly run you through Brighton's business. Transfers coming in. Enoch Mwepu for £20 million from Red Bull Salzburg. Kjell Scherpen for £4.5 million from Ajax. Tudor Baluta, Jean-Paul Van Heck, and Jurgen Locadia returning from loans. And then going out, of course, Ben White to Arsenal for £52 million. Alireza Yahangbash going to Feyenoord for just under £1 million. Davy Proper left on a free transfer to PSV. Jan Lakar went to Hajduk Split on a undisclosed fee. Bernardo also left for an undisclosed fee transfer to Red Bull Salzburg, as did Matt Ryan, who went to Real Sociedad for an undisclosed fee. Jose Izquierdo's contract expired, and then they've got 3 players going out on loan this season, and that's Kaoru Mitoma, Matt Clark, and Leo Ostergaard, going to Union St. Gilloise, West Bromwich Albion, and Stoke City, respectively. So, Brighton's business, of course, I think as a Brighton fan, particularly, someone on the board at Brighton, they'll be absolutely laughing with £52 million from Arsenal for Ben White, I think. Not that I don't think they would have rated him, but I think a lot of Brighton fans are laughing at the fact that Ben White went for £52 million, because the majority of Brighton fans thought the same thing, that Ben White wasn't their best centre-back. So to sell him for £50+ million is obviously a big win for them. They spent a lot of money on Enoch Mwepu, who's a centre mid. He started the first game at Burnley. I was actually thinking that possibly that might have been a replacement for Basuma. It may still be, because, of course, there's been a lot of links with Basuma going elsewhere. But if they manage to keep hold of Basuma and they've got Mwepu, that's pretty good. Kjell Scherpen is a backup goalkeeper. It'll be interesting to see how Locadia does if he stays, that is. if he as he's returned from his loan at Cincinnati. My problem with Brighton's squad, they've got a lot of good players, good squad players, but they lack star quality for me. Like the most decent teams have a good squad, which is what Brighton have. I think they've got a pretty good squad, but they haven't got too many standout star players. You could argue Basuma, who's obviously very good in midfield, but for me, attack-wise, Mope, is he a star player for you, Jason?
No, the only other one I'd say is probably Trossard.
Even Trossard, he's only really come into his own a little bit last season. I wouldn't have called him a star player. I think they lack.
He's a player that can turn it on like when they need it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, and that for me is the difference between Brighton, challenging for the upper echelons, sort of top 10 maybe, to finishing sort of mid-table, lower mid-table, which is where I think they'll finish. I don't think they'll go down. They're too good to go down, but they've done okay business. But for me, Brighton, they've got, like I say, a pretty decent squad. No, not enough star players. I think they'll finish in 14th place. 14th. Jason.
Not bad. Yeah, I mean, obviously they got the 50 million for Ben White. They have spent it quite sparsely as well. I didn't realize how many outgoings they've actually had. They've actually had quite a lot of outgoings. Obviously quite a few of those players didn't actually play for Brighton, but I like the ideas Brighton have going on at the moment. Like I like Graham Potter as a manager. I think he's a very good manager and he's got good ideas. And I think Brighton are going in a good direction. I definitely think they're going away from the relegation zone rather than closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think they're going to have a very good season. Maybe surprising a few. Not that they'll get Europe or anything, but I actually put them to finish in the top 10 in 10th, which is quite a bold prediction. But they're a side that created a lot of chances last season, but it's never put them in the net.
Yeah, they were XG United last year, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they were very high.
Yeah.
Morpay's obviously got one already this season, but it's a big season for him as well. And obviously, I don't know if they're still in talks with Onsen Edouard from Celtic.
I think getting Edouard could seriously change the complexion of their season. Yeah. I think that would give them a huge boost.
I am surprised they haven't gotten a striker yet. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see where they do get Edouard, but I feel like that's the only thing they're missing really. But obviously, they might just use Locadia to see how he does after him coming back.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it'd be good to see the likes of Tariq Lamptey coming back from injury. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Obviously, he's had a pretty lengthy injury after performing really well beginning of last season. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very intrigued to see A, if they keep Locadia, and B, how much he plays. Of course, he was brought in with a lot of hype around him. He pretty much flopped. Let's be honest. At Brighton, he had a couple of moments, but realistically, for all the hype around him, he really did flop. He's coming back from the MLS, so that's a very different challenge. But yeah, like you say, I think Brighton have got a good squad with another striker that could really change it. And I wouldn't be against putting them 10th if they got Edouard in. But for now, 14th for you, 10th. Okay, so let's move on then to the next club, which will be Burnley. This should be interesting. Burnley's business. Burnley, the transfer's coming in. Nathan Collins from Stoke City for £12.6 million. Jacob Bedu from Scunthorpe United on a free transfer. Wayne Hennessy from Crystal Palace on a free transfer. And then going out, Ben Gibson to Norwich City for £8.3 million. Jimmy Dunn to Queen's Park Rangers on an undisclosed fee transfer. Lucas Jensen has gone to Carlisle United on a season-long loan. As has Bailey Peacock-Farrell. He's gone to Sheffield Wednesday on a season-long loan. Robbie Brady's contract expired. And Josh Benson has gone to Barnsley on an undisclosed fee transfer too. So I think everyone says this every window, but that's quite possibly the most Burnley window ever. They love Stoke City players, firstly, and then when they're one of them, well, I mean, they've only made 3 signings, but arguably a marquee signing is a free transfer from Scunthorpe United. That kind of tells you what Burnley are all about. Of course, they manage to do it every year somehow, and that's a massive credit to Sean Dyche and the way he works. I mean, I will admit I don't know an awful lot about Nathan Collins. Of course, I've seen him play a few times at Stoke City, but again, don't know an awful lot about him. Hennessy is good backup. I like that. Of course, he's been at Crystal Palace for a long time now. With Peacock Fowl going the other way, the only other keeper they got is Will Norris. So I like getting Wayne Hennessy in as the number 2. It's a lot of experience there. It's another one of those where on paper that should be nowhere near good enough. But as it's Burnley, that's kind of what they do. And again, I look at their squad and I think they're pretty thin on the ground, but again, they usually do it every year. But that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying when I say that it's a gamble saying that they're going to survive every year, because in theory, they definitely should not survive. If you look at their squad, they absolutely should not survive, but they do every year. However, of course, they are reliant on players like, Chris Wood, Amatej Vidra, Ashley Barnes in there as well, relying on them having good seasons. Now, Ashley Barnes is on the wrong side of 30 now. Chris Wood is approaching it. I'm not sure how old Vidra is. I think it was Tarkowski who got the goal, wasn't it, for them against Brighton? But I think there's a possibility, and I know a lot of people say this every year, and Burnley fans will hate me for this, that if the goals dry up for the likes of Wood and Vidra, they could be in a bit of trouble. Because, I mean, they'll be able to grind out results. Of course they will. But they will lose a lot of games, as they would most seasons. It's a case of getting those goals from Chris Wood and Vidra to win the games. If they don't, I think they'll struggle. And I just got a funny feeling they might have, likes Chris Wood or Vidra will have a dry season. And consequently, I have got them going down. And that's controversial, of course, because a lot of people, just accept the fact that Sean Dyche keeps them up every year. And I'll admit, I hold my hands up. I've been wrong many times on Burnley predicting them to go down. But this season, I really do think that they might, because I can't see many teams worse than them, is what I'm saying.
Where have you put them in the bottom 3?
I've put them 19th.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I could be very wrong. And I'll hold my hands up at the end of the season if I am. I just think maybe, like I said, if Chris Wood in particular doesn't have another good season, then they could struggle. So that's my opinion. But Jason, what are your thoughts on Burnley?
I think, Sean Dyche deserves so much credit. I think the credit he deserves goes under the radar every season. He never ever gets backed. And it's crazy how he managed to keep them up. The fact he took them into the Europa League as well, it's just unbelievable.
It's ridiculous, yeah.
Like, he deserves so much credit, and that's why I like him as a manager. But he's also a great character as well. But I do have to agree. I do fear for them this season. Obviously, you have to. They stay up every year, so they might shock us. They might shock us again. But I just feel like it can't keep happening. Like, surely
they can't. Yeah.
Like, I don't know why the board aren't backing Dyche.
Look, I mean,
got the funds or not, I don't know. But
well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think what it is that quite simply, the owner just doesn't have the money, and in the nicest way possible, I guess Burnley Football Club isn't an attractive proposition for an owner. So I guess that's the reason. But as I said again, they've managed to do it every season, but logic tells you that they shouldn't survive. Every season.
I like Chris Wood as a player. I think he's a good striker. On his day, I mean, put a cross into the box and it will nod it into the back of the net just like that. They literally are so dangerous from set pieces, and that's probably what's going to be their main sort of goal.
That's where their goal came from yesterday. Not that it should have stood, but
yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I do fear for them this season. They did create a lot of chances against Brighton, but just failed to get that second goal, and ultimately it cost them. And I feel like this could be the year that they do go down, and I have put them in 19th as well.
Wow, great minds think alike again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Then we've both got Burnley 19th. Of course, let us know your thoughts in the comments as to what you think or where you think each team will finish, and whether you agree with our predictions. You're unlikely to, because of course it's down to completely opinion. You know, that is, you know, opinions are like noses. Everyone's got one. It's just a case of putting your opinions across in these predictions, and that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to offend anyone. So next up, we got Chelsea. So let's have a look at Chelsea's business then. Of course, the big one is Romelu Lukaku coming back to Chelsea following, obviously, spells at United and Inter Milan, Everton, of course, as well. £103 million is a lot of money, isn't it? But let's go through the other. The only other business they've got, really, in terms of players coming in, is Marcus Bettinelli on a free transfer from Fulham, which is a bit of a weird one on the face of it. But we'll see how it goes. So let's have a look at the players returning from loans, which is obviously a lot. Danny Drinkwater, Baba Rahman, Malang Sarr, Tamu Bakayoko, Matthew Miazga, David Zappacosta, Lewis Baker, Kennedy, and Trevo Chalobah. And they come from Kasim Pasa, PAOK Thessaloniki, SC Porto, SSC Napoli, RSC Anderlecht, Genoa, Trabzonspor, Granada, and Lorient, respectively. Going outwards, of course, Fikayo Tomori, who went to AC Milan for £26.2 million. Mark Guehi, another centre-back as well, he went to Crystal Palace for £21 million. Victor Moses went to Spartak Moscow for £4.5 million. And I didn't actually think about the fee about this before, but Olivier Giroud went to AC Milan for £990,000. That is potentially be a very good deal for AC Milan. Marco Van Ginkel went to PSV on a free. Izzy Brown went to Preston on a free. Danilo Simiu, of course, big up. He went to Southampton on a free. Danilo Pantic went to Partizan Belgrade on a free. And then you've got Jamal Blackman and Willy Caballero, their contract expired. Players going out on loan as of now, there will probably be more. Billy Gilmore to Norwich, Conor Gallagher to Palace, Armando Broja to Southampton, of course, and Levi Colwill to Huddersfield Town. Sorry, Jason, what were we saying?
You forgot Livramento.
Oh, and Livramento, of course. Livramento, who signed for Saints for £5 million. I completely forgot about that. But the one thing I want to say about Chelsea's business, actually, so before we get on to Lukaku, is they've done a very good job, and the big clubs are good at this, at selling academy players that have never ever made an appearance for their first team. For the likes of Mark Guehi, never made a first team appearance. He's gone to Palace for £21 million. For a player who hasn't played for you, that's pretty good. And then you've got obviously Tino Livramento going for £5 million as well. Tomori to AC Milan, I will never agree with that because he's a player that I've had highly rated for a long time. Personally don't agree with that. Of course, they've got a lot of players returning from loan. How many of them will stay, we don't know. But let's talk about Lukaku. Of course, that's the big one. Listen, a lot of people are saying £103 million is way too much, whatever. He's 29. Let's get one thing clear. He was not bad at Manchester United. He was good at Manchester United, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, he scored a lot of goals. That's striker.
And Inter Milan, obviously, he was excellent. I think, arguably, he's one of the best strikers in the world right now. You can argue Lewandowski's better than him, possibly Kane. Listen, I mean, he's a top striker. And one thing he is guaranteed to score Chelsea goals. So in reality, £103 million, of course, it's a lot of money, but Chelsea have turned a lot of that over by making sales, and they're going to get repaid in goals, which can ultimately win you games. So, it was probably a bit much, but
you say Would you rather spend 100 million on Grealish or 100 million on Lukaku?
100 million on Lukaku all day. I know Grealish is a lot younger, but Grealish can. I love Grealish. I think he's a fantastic player, but he can drift in and out. And, sometimes he can just go missing in certain games. Whereas I think you can argue the same for Lukaku, but Lukaku's always that he's guaranteed to get you a goal sometimes. So that's why I would go for Lukaku, even though he's quite considerably younger. Also, I am sorry. Obviously, it's getting dark now. I am sorry about the lighting, but you just have to put up with it. So yeah, Lukaku. I mean, obviously they've still got Werner as well, so I feel a little bit sorry for Werner. But after last season, you can't really complain too much. Overall, how would you have rated their business?
I think top notch, really. They didn't need. I think they didn't desperately need a striker, but I don't think they needed to strengthen anywhere else. Really, they've done a lot of their business in the previous windows. So I think obviously getting Lukaku is a massive, massive signing. Where that leaves Werner, I'm not too sure. Obviously, if he had put away half the chances that he had last season, they might have been looking at a title, maybe in the Premier League.
Yeah,
he missed that many, but
yeah,
I feel like I think their squad on paper is just ridiculously strong, and I think they've got the best manager in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He's already won 2 European trophies. Doesn't need the £1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, let's not get it twisted. Chelsea spend a lot of money, but the difference is that Chelsea make a lot of that money.
So when did he go there? Was it January?
Yeah, January. So in the space of 6
trophies already,
or 8 months. Yeah. One thing I think is going to be interesting. We spoke about this a couple of times off air, as it were. Is the use of sort of players that have been loaned out and have been left out in the cold. Of course, the main one we can talk about right now is Trevoh Chalobah, a player who I don't think anyone would have given a chance to have been involved in Chelsea's plans this season. And so far, he's started and played in Chelsea's victories over Villarreal in the Super Cup and Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Of course, how long that will last, we don't know. It could just be almost a PR stunt to kind of put him on the market and sell him. We don't know. But, as things stand, it looks as if possibly, I mean, from what I read as well, Chelsea Football Club asked Thomas Tuchel, do you want to loan or sell Trevoh Chalobah? And he said, Trevoh's not going anywhere. So clearly he rates him very highly. And like I said, I got a feeling that there are a few loan players that, you may not expect to be involved in Chelsea's plans. I think they'll be there this season. And that could be a really interesting dynamic because they'll offer some good depth, of course. What sort of players do you think could be involved this season, Jason? And, how do you think they'll do?
I think Chalobah will definitely be used. I think the thing is with Chelsea, they've obviously got the best academy in the country. There's no shying away from that. They've got so much quality coming through. Obviously, they've loaned a lot of their main players that are close to the first team out. Obviously, that striker to Southampton, I've heard a lot of good things about him. Livermore, obviously, you bought. Gilmore's in Norwich, who's a fantastic talent. Well, I think Chelsea are in a prime position, and that's why I think I do think they'll win the league. Champions.
Well, again, great minds think alike because I've also got them winning the league, and I changed my mind a few times on this. I was toying between Chelsea and Man City, and I was thinking about it, and I was just thinking about. Really, it was that Lukaku signing that tipped me over the edge towards Chelsea because the problem City have, and I know I'm giving away kind of my predictions for the rest of the league now, but it is what it is. The problem City have and have had at times is that, of course, that they are that good that they pretty much walked the league without a out-and-out striker last season. of course, they've got Gabriel Jesus. He's nowhere near really the standard that Man City want him to be. They haven't got Harry Kane as of now. Of course, if they get Harry Kane, that can be another game changer. But I just think that if they don't, then they're relying on playing a false nine again for another season. I think they might get a bit worked out. And as I said, Lukaku, that is an out-and-out striker. He will get them goals, Chelsea. So that tipped me over the edge towards Chelsea. I think they will win the league. But that's just my opinion. And like I say, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the lone players be brought back in and seeing how they do, particularly Chalobah, who, of course, has started really well. So we've both got Chelsea winning the league then, which may surprise a few people. Let's move on then and go on to Crystal Palace, of course, who've done a bit of business with Chelsea this season. They brought in Mark Guehi, the centre-back, for £21 million. They also, from Chelsea, got Conor Gallagher on a season-long loan. He spent last season at West Brom. They also bought Joachim Andersen from Lyon for £15 million. Michael Elise from Reading for just under £9 million. And then they got Remy Matthews on a free transfer from Sunderland. And Yaroslav Yak returns from his loan spell at Rakov Częstochowa. I've done myself in there. I just left it. He returned from his loan. And I apologise to anyone who's a fan of that club or anything like that. I tried.
Not good enough.
So Palace, I mean, under Roy Hodgson, I always thought, what was the direction for Palace? They were decent. They've got some decent players, but I didn't see any direction. They just kind of survived every year, finishing in the same sort of places, 14th, that kind of area. Now it does seem, with the signings that they've made, that they might have a bit more direction. Of course, they got rid of a lot of deadwood. That was the signings that come in, sorry. So let me just tell you who's gone then quickly. Wayne Hennessy's left on a free transfer to Burnley. Mamadou Sakho went on a free to Montpellier. Patrick Van Aanholt has gone to Galatasaray on a free. Andros Townsend went to Everton on a free. And then a number of players with their contracts expired: Sam Woods, Connor Wickham, Scott Dan, Gary Cahill, and Stephen Henderson. So they've got rid of a lot of old players, a lot of deadwood. And they've brought in some young, exciting players. I mean, you've got Joachim Andersen's got a bit of experience about him, of course. Spent last season at Fulham. I think that's a very good signing. He's a player that I've been impressed with at Fulham. He's played for Denmark at the Euros as well. And then you've got Mark Guehi, who obviously spent last season at Swansea, Chelsea Academy product. Of course, there is a little element of risk of that because about making the step up to the Premier League, but I think that's a very good signing. Elise as well, and it's a good option they've got. I think if I could have possibly added one more thing for Palace, I would have probably said that they needed maybe another striker, because I mean Zaha can play there, but I still don't think Zaha will ever be a striker. You've got Benteke, who, whilst he had a pretty good season last season in the end, he's had long dry spells, so he's not guaranteed form. Jordan Ayew is decent, but he's not going to get you a copious amount of goals. So consequently, I would have said maybe another striker, and they may even be looking at another striker. I don't know. All in all, I think they've done pretty good business, but of course, the big point is whether Patrick Vieira will step up. And Jason, firstly, what do you think on Crystal Palace's business? Secondly, do you think Patrick Vieira will step up?
I think that I agree with everything you just said. That I think they've had a decent window. It's clear they wanted to strengthen at the back. They obviously saw that as a bit of a liability. They've got two good centre halves in. They've spent the money on them for two quality players as well. But I do fear for them going forward. Not in terms of playmakers, in terms of where
the goals.
The goals, yeah. Obviously, I think is Ayew still there?
Yeah, Jordan Ayew is, yeah.
They've got Ayew and Benteke, which obviously isn't a strike force that's going to.
It's not going to scare too many, is it?
No, and that's where I think they're going to struggle. And I feel like they do need to get a striker in. Whether they do or not, I don't know.
Well, the fact that they were looking at Adam Armstrong suggests to me that maybe they are looking at strike.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In terms of Patrick Vieira, I don't know. It could be another Frank de Boer. I hope it goes well for him. I want it to go well for him. But
The difference is with him and Frank de Boer. Frank de Boer had quite a lot of experience. He had a big caliber when he came. He just flopped. Patrick Vieira has very little experience in terms of coaching and managing.
If we're basing it off Vieira's signings, I mean, he's done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah.
I hope it goes well for him. It's just hard. It's hard to sort of suggest where. I know a lot of people are tipping him to be the first manager. Well, or have him down to be the first manager to be sacked of the season.
Yeah.
But I really hope that's not the case, and I want him to do well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do I. I want him to do well because he's obviously a big character. He was a fantastic player in his day. We've seen him do a lot of punditry over the years, and now he's he's trying his hand at a managerial career. And as we've seen, that doesn't always work out. But I hope it does. And I think Crystal Palace would be an excellent first job for him, or it could be an excellent fit. But it could also end in disaster. As we both mentioned, I do think they need another striker. They just lack real cutting edge when it comes to goal scoring. But if they had another striker, I think all in all, possibly maybe another midfielder as well. I think that I'm not sure if the likes of McCarthy and MacArthur are still going this season, but possibly another central midfielder. But I think Palace will have a pretty good season. I've got a feeling that they will get another striker in. And who it is, I don't know. I still think they should get Batshuayi again. And I personally rate Batshuayi a lot. I know he wasn't really a starter for them, but I think he could be a starter and he could score goals for them. I've got Palace finishing 11th, which is very high, but I think they'll have a good season. Like I say, if they get a goal scorer in, I think they'll be good. Jason, where have you gone?
I've got Crystal Palace in 14th. I don't think they're going to go down. I think they've strengthened enough defensively to
too strong defensively. Yeah.
I think obviously Zaha and Eze will pop up with a couple of goals. And Elise maybe too. So yeah, I think they have enough to stay up, and I've got them in 14th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Next up is Everton. Now, Everton's a bit of a weird one for me. Of course, there is, we're recording this on the 15th of August. Is that the date today? So there's about 15, 16 days left in the transfer window. But as of now, they've done pretty little business, but it's been cheap business. So let's have a look at what they've done. Coming in, Damari Gray for £1.8 million. I put from Everton on here. It was from Bayer Leverkusen. Andros Townsend on a free transfer from Crystal Palace. Asmir Begovic on a free transfer from AFC Bournemouth. And some players returning on loan as well, which is very good for the squad, in my opinion. Moise Keane, as things stand, is still an Everton player, and he's returning from PSG. Cenk Tosun, who is returning from Besiktas, his loan there. And John Joe Kenny is returning from Celtic. Going out, Bernard, he went for £900,000 to Sharjah. Benny Baningime, sorry if I've butchered that name, Baningime, he's gone to Hearts and Midlothian on an undisclosed fee. Theo Walcott went to Southampton on a free. Matthew Pennington went to Shrewsbury on a free. Josh King went to Watford on a free. And then a couple of players, their contracts expired. Yannick Bolasie and Mohamed Besic. And then Robin Olsen returned to AS Roma after the loan. So it's been a weird summer for Everton in terms of business because they've done, the likes of Damari Gray, Andros Townsend, they've done Asmir Begovic, they've done little business, and you think, okay, they're bolstering the squad and they're going to get some big hitting signings. They haven't got them as of now, and haven't spoken to a couple of Everton fans at the game yesterday. By the sound of it, I don't think they will get them because apparently, they had pretty rich owners in Moshiri, and they still do. but apparently there isn't that money there to spend at the minute, whether that's down to COVID or whether that's down to putting money into the new stadium plans. I don't know. But they don't quite have the funds at the minute, which is why they've done the business that they have. Jason, firstly, what's your thoughts on their business? And secondly, what's your thoughts on their squad?
Their business has been very, very poor, which is a shock. It's a shock for Everton because they usually do a lot of business, maybe too much business sometimes. I remember that time they brought in like 10 or 11 players and they had a dreadful season.
Yeah.
When they signed Klassen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm shocked that they haven't brought anyone in, considering there's talks of James Rodriguez not being considered in the squad this season. With the Gylfi saga that's going on at the moment. So they are sort of lacking that attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
Obviously, they brought in Damari Gray, Townsend, and Begovic. But are all of them going to start? Damari Gray, obviously, is probably the best one of the three. Might get a few games for them, but they're not players that are gonna like, I don't know, give any intentions to any other teams that like they're gonna do something this season.
Do you know what it is? I think when it comes to the business they've done, it's almost like like I say, the squad bolstering that you would do if they were playing in Europe. You know, you wouldn't be surprised to see these sorts of players in the squad when they've got loads of games to play because they're in Europe. But they haven't, and obviously, because they're not making those big signings as well, these players will be more involved. Now, Damari Gray is a player I like, and I like a lot. You know, from all the way back in his Birmingham days, really, and obviously he went to Leicester, spent quite a while there, had a pretty good start, and then it petered out, and he was completely frozen out in the end, which was a shame, really. I would love him at Southampton personally. I think he'd be a good fit for us, but it didn't quite work out for him at Leverkusen either. So, yeah, I mean, I really want him to succeed, and I think he's got the chance to. This is obviously his second stab, really, at the Premier League. Let's hope he can do well. Andros Townsend, I think, is actually a little bit of shrewd business because, yeah, he's not going to. Well, for me, I wouldn't say he would start every game for Everton, or at least he shouldn't. But he can sometimes crop up with some excellent moments. Of course, he scores screamers from time to time, and he can just crop up with that moment of quality. Begovic is going to be a good backup, of course, to Pickford. One thing I will say is what will be really interesting for me is if they keep Moise Kean, because Moise Kean, we saw how good he was at PSG when he went out on loan. Didn't quite work out for him when he first went to Everton, which I was really surprised at. But I think if he stays and he wants to play for Everton, and that's a key thing, whether he wants to play for Everton, having just played for PSG, I think he could be seriously, seriously good. We'll see how that goes. He didn't feature yesterday. I don't know exactly whether he's in Everton's plans or not. But yeah, Everton's squad, I think the thing is, what we've got to remember is that Everton's squad is still good. They still have those signings. Other than James, of course, they still got Alan. They still got Doucouré. And, of course, if Calvert-Lewin does well as well, that will bode well for them. They've got a bit of depth coming back in as well, returning from loan. I think they'll have a good season. I think Rafa Benitez is a good manager. And he always knows how to get the best out of his squad. We saw that in Newcastle. So I think that Everton, like I say, I think they'll have a really good season. And I've got them finishing in 7th place. So getting Europe, possibly. Quite likely. I think they'll have a good season. Like I say, Rafa Benitez, I like him a lot. And I think he'll do well. Jason?
I think this is the first one we sort of disagree on a bit. Just for I look at them last season and their home form let them down a lot last season. Obviously, it's big having the fans back now this season. Whether that will help Goodison Park, I don't know. But they ended up finishing 10th. It was a dreadful season for them. Considering the standards they set at the start of the season. And I don't know, I just don't feel like they've that same squad that go on.
I was just going to say, I think with the 10th, that maybe does them a slight injustice. Of course, they just fall apart a little bit towards the end of the season, but from like 7th, 8th down to about 12th, there was a lot of teams really bunched up. So
Yeah.
I didn't read too much into them finishing 10th, but yeah, I agree. It wasn't great.
Yeah, they just dropped too many points against teams that they realistically should have been beating.
Yeah.
I
remember that Newcastle at home game. Games like that.
Yeah. I mean, where it's Rafa's first summer as well, I would have thought that, I don't know, maybe he'd have wanted to bring at least one person in of value, in terms of more than £2 million, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a strange season for them, and I've put them in 11th.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, I can certainly see the points there, because certainly things aren't perfect at Everton right now. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I just got it was almost more of an inkling really than a lot of logic behind it. Although they do still have a good squad, I just think that they'll put together the performances under Rafa. Obviously, they started off with a good win against us, and we'll see how they go. But yeah, so slight difference in opinions there. Leeds United next. Leeds United. So Junior Firpo coming in, of course, from Barcelona for £13 million. Jack Harrison from Manchester City for £11.5 million. Christopher Claassen from Vålerenga for £1.8 million. And then going out, you got Barry Douglas to Lech Poznan, Ezgan Alioski to Al Ali, Uam Bui to Al Khari Tiat. Pablo Hernandez, of course, he went to Castellon on a free. And then you've got Mateus Bogas going on a season-long loan, as is Kiko Casilla and Leif Davis going to Ibiza, Elche, and Bournemouth. So Leeds United, of course, they don't have an ideal start. But as we're talking, this kind of from a pre-season perspective. They had a good season last year. For the first season up, I thought they did really well. They had a very good season. They were very entertaining, of course. And being entertaining doesn't necessarily equate to doing well. But they did. I thought they did well overall. That they got some really, really good results. Had a little bit of a sticky patch sort of midway through the season, and then reined it back in towards the end and did really well. I think for Leeds, a lot of it for me has the bearing of whether Patrick Bamford backs up his season last year. They haven't really brought in a striker as such, or they haven't brought in a striker. So they are kind of relying on Patrick Bamford scoring those goals again. If he doesn't, they could be in a little, not trouble. I think they'll be fine, but they could be a lot lower down the table. Jason, what do you think of their business, first things first?
It's a bit plain, isn't it, really? They've sort of just replaced Alioski and said they're happy with the squad that they had. Which is, yeah, I guess. I mean, obviously getting Jack Harrison in permanently was a good signing as well. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they do have Rodrigo, who can also play striker, as well as Bamford. But yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, or where do you think they'll finish this season?
I've got them finishing the exact same place, which is 9th.
9th? Okay. Yeah. Like say, I think. I've got them finishing one better. I've got them finishing 8th. Listen, they obviously had a poor start to the season with the United game, but I think should Bamford back it up, and I've got a funny feeling he will. It's weird because he's not a player I rated before, but obviously Bielsa, he had that faith in Bamford that he was going to make the step up and score goals for them, and he has done. And I don't see why he won't again. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think they've got a good squad. Junior Firpo is a very good signing. He's a player I like a lot. He actually played quite a bit for Barcelona, so I think that's a very good acquisition at left back. Of course, he may not even directly get into the team. He didn't start yesterday, of course, because they got Stuart Dallas there, who was one of their players of the season last year. But yeah, I think all in all, they're a very good side. They've got some good players. They work brilliantly as a team. Bielsa is a good coach. I think they'll finish 8th. So that's Leeds United. Then we both got them finishing around the same place, of course. So we'll move on then, and we'll go on to Leicester City. The business that they've done then is they brought in Patson Daka for £27 million from Red Bull Salzburg, Boubakary Samare from Los Lille for £18 million, Yannick Vestergaard for £15 million from Southampton, Ryan Bertrand on a free from Southampton, and then Filip Benkovic returning from his loan at Leuven. Going out, Rashid Gezal to Besiktas for £2.6 million. Christian Fuchs went on a free transfer, as did Matty James to Bristol City and to Charlotte Independence and Bristol City independently. And then you've got Cengiz Under, who's returning from his loan spell, of course, to AS Roma, and Wes Morgan retired. So they've done their sort of, 4 really main signings in your Vestergaard, your Samare, and your Daka. Will be very interesting to see how Daka gets on in the Premier League. Of course, you've got Jamie Vardy still. You've got Ian Atchis. They've got options. Vardy is, coming certainly well into his autumn of his career. Ian Atcho had a fantastic second half of last season, so I actually think it'd be a little bit harsh, really, for him to be completely kind of shafted out of the squad, but we'll see what happens there. I can't say I've seen a lot of Daka or Samare, but they both look like good signings in good areas. And listen, they've got a very strong squad, but they'll need all of that squad. Wesley Fofana getting injured is a big blow. Jason, what do you think of their business, first of all? And then we'll talk about how we think they'll do.
Yeah, Leicester are a side that haven't really needed to strengthen too much. They're already in a very good position in themselves, and they're obviously on the up there in Europe as well. I think Daka's a fantastic signing. I think Vestergaard's a good signing. Samare looked very good in the Community Shield against Manchester City when he came on.
Mm-hmm.
Bertrand's obviously just a backup, I guess.
I know he started in the Community Shield, but he'll probably play a lot more because of the injuries.
Yeah. Obviously James Justin's out in these, so
James Justin. They still got Luke Thomas as well, so they got a good amount of depth.
It's kind of ironic that the defence they beat 9-0, they now have 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep, you're exactly right.
Bertrand played a part in. Well, he didn't really play because he got sent off, but
he was kind of the catalyst for it in a way.
Maybe he knew this was going to happen.
I would have been interested to actually go a bit off in the tangent to see actually what the scoreline would have been had he not got sent off.
Yeah.
We would have lost the game. By how many, we don't know. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think they've done good business. They couldn't do much more with what they have, really, and I think they're again a side that's going to have a very, very good season, and they've just got to hope they can push. It's going to be hard to push for that top 4 because I feel like the main block of 4 are taking that step up now.
Yeah.
But you just never know.
Well, I'll talk about it in a second, but I think there is one that they could possibly catch. But for Leicester City, I think everyone would have said this before. A lot of people have. I admire Leicester City a lot because for me, they do it the right way. They do things the right way. People say obviously they spend money. They spend money and they have good investment, but they don't spend copious amounts. And also they make a fair bit of money from selling players as well. Not so much this season, but just in general. Like I say, they've done things the right way. They've also bought a lot of their players for pretty cheap. The players that have done the best for them, really, when you think all the way back to Vardy and players like Maddison, etc. Like I say, I think they're a very smart football club. They do good business. They've got a good squad, and they've got a good youth system. They've got some players coming through. You got the players involved in the first team squad from the youth system. Your Luke Thomases, your Hamza Chowdhury's. So yeah, I mean, credit to them. All credit to them. Of course, they're in the Europa League again, which I thought they were looking really, really strong in, and then all of a sudden it got to the Slavia Prague game, and they kind of threw it away. This season, though, I'd like to think that they'll have a really, really good stab at the Europa League. Not saying they'll win it, not even saying that they'll necessarily come close, but they'll have a lot of football to play. Let's be real here. Of course, they've got the Premier League, they've got the cup competitions, which they won the FA Cup last year. They will have a lot of football to play, so they're going to need every last bit of that squad. Yeah, I think their business was good. I think they got a good squad. However, because of things like the Europa League, and then possibly having a bit more of a stab at that this year, possibly prioritising that, I think that could affect league form, especially if they get to the later stages of the Europa League. And I think they'll finish in 6th place. So still getting Europe, still getting Europa League, depending on, of course, what happens in the cups. But I've got them finishing in 6th place. Jason, where have you got them?
I've got them one above in 5th. And like I said, I think they'll be on the brink of that top 4, and whether they can push into it, who knows?
Yeah. Okay. The one club that I thought they could possibly catch is no other than Liverpool. And the reason for this is, listen, Liverpool have obviously got a good squad. They've got good players. But as Jurgen Klopp has said, they don't have quite the money that the likes of Chelsea and City do. I just think that if anyone's going to get caught, it might be them, whether it be for a goal drought, the likes of Mane and Salah, or players getting injured again, Van Dijk. Obviously, Robertson's out in a minute. They got Tsimikas playing. We'll have to wait and see. But as for Liverpool and what they're doing, or the business that they've done, they brought in Ibrahima Konate from RB Leipzig for £36 million. I think that's a very, very good signing. As a player I've admired for a while. And the only other business they've done is brought back Loris Karius from his loan at Union Berlin. Going out, again, another example of a big club with a player who never really played for them. I don't even know if he made a first-team appearance, Harry Wilson. They sold him to Fulham for £12.6 million. Taiwo Awoniyi is another one. He went to Union Berlin for £5.85 million. Of course, Jorginho Wijnaldum went to PSG for a free transfer. And Grujic has gone back out on loan to FC Porto, and Kabak has returned from his loan back to Schalke. So Liverpool haven't done a lot of business. They've been very quiet this window, Liverpool. And the one issue with Liverpool has, for me, always been squad depth. They've got a very good first team, of course. Maybe not necessarily the star names, especially in the midfield, I would say, in comparison to other clubs, but they get the job done. I think they'll be fine this year. I don't think they'll challenge for the title. Personally, I don't think that's within their reach this year. I think they'll finish 4th and get Champions League football. Jason?
Yeah, I've got them in the exact same place. I'm very surprised they haven't brought in another midfielder and maybe even a striker. Obviously, they've got the Josh and Firmino that can rotate, and I think Jota's a fantastic player, but he's not an out striker. And that's where I feel they might lack. In the midfield as well, they lost a big player in Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
Obviously, Henderson's not back yet. I mean, their midfield that started against Norwich is not a midfield that's going to threaten anyone in the high end of the table anyway.
Yeah.
And I think Thiago didn't have the best of starts at Liverpool last season.
No, he didn't, no.
I know they were looking at Saul Niguez, but I don't think they're getting him. Liverpool's a weird one. I just feel like out of the top 4, they've not really out of the 4 that we feel like are going to pull away. They're the ones that haven't really. Obviously, they've got Konate, but they haven't really made that big. Whereas Chelsea got Lukaku, City got Grealish, United got Sancho.
That's why I think if anyone's going to get caught in that top four, it will be Liverpool.
I agree. Yeah, I've got them in fourth as well.
Okay, yeah. Next up then is Manchester City. Of course, we've already said that we think Chelsea are going to win the league, but let's have a look at the business that they've done firstly. Of course, the main one, the big one really, is Jack Grealish from Aston Villa, £105 million. They also got Kai, I think it's Kai from Fluminense for £9 million. Scott Carson signed permanently on a free transfer from Derby County, probably the least Manchester City signing ever. Ko Itakara returning from his loan. Groningen, Yangel Herrera, and Daniel Arzani also returning from loans. Going out, Angelino finally signed permanently for RB Leipzig for £16.2 million. Jack Harrison went to Leeds for £11.5 million. Lucas Nemecha went to Wolfsburg for £7.2 million. Of course, both Sergio Aguero and Eric Garcia went to Barcelona on free transfers. And then you've got some players going on season-long loans. You've got Ionet Muric, Ryataro Machino, Marlos Moreno, Issa Kabore, and Filip Stevanovic. They've all gone out on loan to Adana Demirspor, Estoril Praia, KV Kortrijk, Troyes, and Heerenveen. City's business. I mean, of course, everything about City's business has been around Jack Grealish. There's the whole saga, but I think really for City, it all depends on one thing. This whole season depends on whether the Kane transfer gets over the line. Like I say, Jack Grealish is a very, very good player. Is he £105 million?
No.
Yeah, he's excellent. It is the market. It's the market, isn't it? But he's absolutely quality. And the thing is as well, it's what he's worth to Aston Villa. He's priceless to Aston Villa, so it makes sense for them to have put the price that high. Whether he will pay that at least this season, I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, other than that, obviously it's largely the same squad. And I don't know. I just think it all depends on whether they get Harry Kane. If they do, I think City win the league. If they don't, I think they'll finish second. Jason?
I think even with Harry Kane, they're not going to win the league.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a big statement.
That is a big statement. But obviously, the way City played today was like Harry Kane was on the pitch. I mean, they put about 98 crosses into the box, and only one of them actually came to a chance, which Ferran Torres should have put away.
And it doesn't make sense as well when they haven't exactly got much height up.
I didn't understand Pep's tactics at all.
No.
At all.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, like I say, of course they've got Gabriel Jesus, who's a good player. He's a good backup, but he's not the player that's going to play week in, week out that's going to win in the league. So, exactly. Yeah, I think for me, second place for Manchester City this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they went on to win a league, of course, but I think second. I would say second or third is really the only places I can see them finishing other than first. I couldn't see them finishing any lower than that. But yeah, so that's Manchester City. Let's, of course, move on to Manchester United. Sorry, go on.
I don't think I said where I actually put them.
You said second, didn't you?
No, I've got them in third.
Really?
Yeah.
No way, third. Wow, yeah. Okay. That is a big statement. Wow. Your reasoning for that then?
Not really.
Fair enough.
I'm impressed with the team. Well, obviously, it's easy to work out who've got second now, but I've been impressed with their business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like Chelsea and Man United, always seem to beat City or make City play bad against them.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
That's where it's going to come. What's going to come down to?
I think if City, obviously it's only the first game of the season, but if City drop points I'm not going to say like Spurs, but you know what I mean.
City after today because I had a poor start to the season last season and ended up.
We can't judge too much. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Manchester United then. Of course, all the talk was over their two signings, being Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund for £76.5 million and Rafael Varane, who the transfer was confirmed. Do you actually know the fee? Because I know it was between 40 and £50 million. I didn't see the final fee.
Who's this?
Varane.
Varane, no idea. I read before, but maybe I'm estimating too low.
Around the 40 to £50 million mark. That's what we know. Andreas Pereira, of course. How much?
41.
41. Wow, that's actually quite a good price. Considering Ben White, when you think about it, £50 million. Andreas Pereira returning from Lazio, his loan there. And Diogo Dalot returning from AC Milan. Players going out then. Joel Pereira's gone to Valvik on a free transfer. A few players on loans. Tahith Chong, Facundo Pellistri, and Axel Tuanzebe all on season-long loans to Birmingham City, Deportivo Alaves, and Aston Villa, respectively. So they haven't done a lot of business, Manchester United, but it's about the quality of the business they've done. Of course, Jadon Sancho is a fantastic player. He's got pace, he's got skill, he can score goals, but for me, where he really shines is assisting goals. I think he can be a danger for anyone. And like I say, coming in from the wing, for any striker that's up top, whoever's playing up top, you're likely to get goals when you're playing with Jadon Sancho. Varane, listen, say what you want about him, about what he was like at Real Madrid or whatever. He was a top player, of course he was playing alongside Sergio Ramos, but he was a serial winner. He's won everything there is to win. Well, I mean, he's obviously won La Ligas and Champions Leagues. He's got a lot of experience for someone who's less than 30 years old. It's the sort of centre-back signing that Manchester United needed if they wanted a real title charge. The question is, do you think that's enough, Jason?
No. I do think they're lacking a midfielder, but I don't think they're going to get one.
Okay.
They
were looking at Camavinga, weren't they?
Yeah, they were looking at Camavinga.
Yeah.
I don't think McFred is. I think that's why I think United get second if they get a centre mid. I don't think they can go for another season of McFred in midfield.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, again, there's obviously still a couple of weeks left of the transfer window, but kind of any kind of rumours or anything of Camavinga, there's not really been much. There's not really been a peak for a little while. So as a result of that, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if United's business was done. But I would say, yeah, if they, well, for me, if they're going to, have a chance of challenging the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City, namely Chelsea, then they need a centre mid, or like a centre mid CDM, whatever you want to call it. So I've got them finishing in second place. Sorry, third place, not second place. Third place. I was getting confused. Third place, Manchester United. And I know that's not a big improvement, of course, when you look at it on the face of it. But considering how good Chelsea and Man City are and how much they had pulled away, to rein them back in is a big achievement for United. I do think they need a trophy. If they don't get a trophy, then I think the pressure will build, or more so than it already has on Ole. But I think they will get third. And if I had to put money on it, I would say that they will get a trophy this season as well. Jason?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big season for Ole, but I do think they were right to stick with Ole.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're in a good position to start the season. I think they've got an exciting season ahead, and I've got them in second if they get a good centre mid in.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, Newcastle United. The transfer business they've done as of now is none. They haven't brought anyone in, not a single signing, not even a loan or a free transfer for Newcastle United as of now. Going out, it's fair to say probably a bit of deadwood. Sorry?
Who was that?
Newcastle United.
They brought in Willock, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, I drafted this up a few days ago. So the Joseph Willock has gone through, hasn't it?
Yeah, 20 million.
Sorry?
25 million.
£25 million for Joe Willock. So, of course, that changes a lot. But players going out, you've got Florian Lejeune going to Deportivo Alaves for an undisclosed fee. Christian Atsu leaving on a free transfer to Al Raid. Yoshihiro Muto, sorry?
Forgot about Atsu.
Yeah. Yoshihiro Muto is gone to Vissel Kobe on a free transfer. Jake Turner's gone on a season-long loan to Colchester. And then you've got Andy Carroll and Henry Saivet, whose contract expired. So, I mean, for Newcastle, I feel sorry for them, if I'm being completely honest. They've been screwed around a lot, really, with the kind of owner sagas and things like that. I do think at times, and again, I don't want to offend anyone, I do think at times Newcastle fans have maybe been a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but just in the fact that about not spending money, and then they've made £40 million transfers for. However, I think on the whole, I mean, this transfer window in particular, of course, hasn't been very good for them on the whole. They've got Willock, which is very good. They're going to need Callum Wilson to have a good season if they're going to survive, for me. The rest of their squad is, like I say, pretty much the same. It's decent, but it's nowhere near where they want to be. And like I say, I think there's a lot of negativity around the club all the time, particularly this season. I think they'll struggle, but I think they will just have enough to survive. And I think they'll finish in 17th place. Jason?
Yeah, I actually disagree there. Okay. I've got them comfortably staying up.
Okay.
Comfortably, I've got them in 12th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 12. Okay. 12, yeah.
I actually, like today, I think today they created, there was a stat at half time about something like they created more chances than they had done for like any game or last season or something like that. Or like the expected goals or something. Like the chance they're creating was basically better than last season. I don't know. I just feel like they've got a good base in their squad. Obviously, they do lack defensively. That's no secret, really. But I do like Saint-Maximin, and I think if he can stay fit, they'll have a good season.
Yeah. No, I think him and Wilson are the two key players. Yeah.
I think if Saint-Maximin can stay fit, because he's not really had that run of games where he's been able to really get going. He looked a threat every time he got the ball up until it went to 4-2 today. And yeah, they looked a good side, Newcastle, in the first half, kind of capitulated in the second half. But I think they'll be all right this season. I don't think they should have any worries. And obviously Willock coming in is going to be a big player for them. Scored a lot of goals.
Yeah. If he can find the form he did last season. Yeah. Okay. So Norwich City then. Now Norwich City is a funny one, really, because they are the proverbial yo-yo club. That's what they've been known as for quite a while. But their last outing in the Premier League, of course, according to the owner, I believe his name's Stuart Webber, was ahead of schedule, and they weren't planning to be promoted by then, because they were building something, and they didn't expect to be promoted by then, basically. So they went straight back down, and they were pretty poor on the whole after a decent start. Finished bottom, I think it was like 21 points. They've come straight back up, and they were way too good for the Championship last season. Let's be realistic. They were excellent at times. I think the thing for Norwich is always that they've got some good players here and there, but the squad overall is never ever really close to being good enough. It's always too good for the Championship, but not good enough for the Premier League, is what I would say. Let's have a look at the signings they've made. Christos Zolis from PAOK Thessaloniki for £9.9 million. Mila Rashica for £9.9 million from Werder Bremen. John Sargent from Werder Bremen for £8.5 million. Ben Gibson from Burnley for £8.3 million. And Dimitrios Giannoulis from PAOK Thessaloniki for £6.7 million. Pierre Lise Melu from OGC Nice for £5.4 million. And then you've got Flynn Clark from Peterborough for an undisclosed fee. Billy Gilmore, who's obviously coming from loan from Chelsea. You've got Daniel Adshead and Tim Close returning from their loans at Telstar and Basel. Going out, of course, Emiliano Buendia to Aston Villa for £34 million. Moritz Leitner, who left on a free to Zurich. As did Philip Heisey, went to Karlsruhe on a free. Mario Vrancic went to Stoke on a free. And Louis Thompson went to Portsmouth on a free. And you've got some season-long loans. Sebastian Soto, Josh Martin, Daniel Bardin, Akin Famewo, Sam McCullum, Daniel Sinani, Marco Stiepermann, Oyan Nyland. Sorry, not Oyan Nyland and Stiepermann. They've all gone out on loan. Stiepermann and Nyland, their contracts expired. And Javi Quintilla was on a loan from Villarreal. So, Norwich, the business they've done is... And also somewhat reminds me of a bit of Southampton a few years ago when they've brought a lot of pretty unknown players from lesser leagues. If you look at it, they've got 2 players from PAOK Thessaloniki in Greece, which is interesting. I don't know if there's a Greek sort of link there, whether it's just that they had a scout out there. I don't know. And then 2 players from Werder Bremen as well, in Rashica and Sargent. Of course, they brought in Ben Gibson as well. I think the problem is they're all decent signings. But again, I'm going to say they lack enough star quality and firepower. And, of course, they're going to miss Buendia a lot. I don't know where their goals are going to come from. It's whether Pukki's still got it. We'll see. I hate to say it because I hate saying Norwich come back up and go straight back down. But I fear for Norwich this season. I have actually got them finishing bottom. Jason?
Yeah, I agree. I do fear for them this season. They lost their best player in Buendia. They did get in Rashica, who's a very good player. I think that's probably their best signing. But I do struggle to see where the goal is going to come from as well. And defensively, not great. I mean, they brought in Ben Gibson. It's not the greatest centre-back in the world. And yeah, I fear for them this season. I really do think they need a league that's in between the Premier League and the Championship, because they'd be perfect for it. But
yeah, they're exactly that. Yeah,
I think they're going to continue to yo-yo, and I've got them finishing bottom as well.
Yeah, again, it's disappointing to say, obviously, because I find it, for lack of a better word, boring to see the same teams coming up and then the same teams going straight back down. I like to see teams come up and succeed and stay up, and I also like to see different teams going down, just because it keeps it interesting, exciting, instead of the same thing every season. But yeah, I fear for Norwich, and unfortunately, 20th place for them. Did you put them bottom or?
Yeah, I've got them bottom.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, then we have got Southampton, of course, the Mighty Saints. Where do I start about Southampton? Well, let's talk about the business we've done. So you've got Adam Armstrong coming in from Blackburn Rovers for just under £16 million. Romain Perrault from Stade Brestois for £10.8 million. Tino Livramento from Chelsea for £5.3 million. Zanel Simiu from Chelsea for £1.3 million. Armando Broja, who's coming on a season-long loan from Chelsea. And then you've got Mohamed El Yunusi returning from Celtic from his loan spell. Going out, Danny Ings, of course, to Aston Villa for £31.6 million. Angus Gunn to Norwich for £5.2 million. That's a sign I forgot to talk about, actually, for Norwich. Mario Lemina, who's gone to Nice for just under £5 million. And you got Wesley Hoot went to Anderlecht for an undisclosed fee. Alexander Yankovic went to Young Boys on an undisclosed fee. Callum Slattery went to Motherwell on an undisclosed fee. And then you've got Jake Hesketh and Ryan Bertrand, David Agbonta Homer, Thomas O'Connor, Cameron Ledwidge, and James Morris all leaving on free transfers. Takumi Minamino returning from his loan. And then you've got a load of youth players who have been released. Josh Sims, Lucas Defise, Pascal Kapomu, Kingsley Latham, and Tommy Scott. And then you've got players going out on loan, of course. Kane Ramsey, Jake Vokins, Daniel Ndulu, Will Ferry. They've all gone to the Football League to go to Crewe, Lincoln City, and Crawley Town. And then Jake Vokins went to Ross County, but of course got injured. So
went to Eastleigh.
Sorry?
And Jake Hesketh went to Eastleigh.
He did? Did I not say that?
Yeah, you did, but I wanted to say at the end.
Oh, yeah. Jake Hesketh went to Eastleigh. I still find that mad to say, actually, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, I mean, the problem with my business is, of course, if you didn't know, I'm a Southampton fan. The problem I have is, I think we've done good business for what if we had a good squad already, if that makes sense. Like a lot of our signs, I would say, would have been good squad additions. The problem I have is that we lack a lot of quality, and therefore these signings aren't going to really do much about that. I had my reservations about Adam Armstrong coming in, about whether he was going to step up to the Premier League. Of course, he's made a good start, but it's one game. The problem, and we've spoke about this many times, Jason, is that it just seems like we've got a very, that'll do mentality.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Because it just seems like there is so much better business out there to be done, and we just haven't done it. And of course, for anybody who doesn't know the situation at Saints, we don't have any money. Pretty much that's the crux of it, because we have an owner from China who didn't have any intention of investing, but also isn't allowed to invest by his government. And we've spent all of our money from the likes of Van Dijk, Mane, all of those transfers before. And we're essentially living off what we sell now. So as a result, like I said, we don't have much money. We're in a difficult position. And it's difficult when we're selling our best players and replacing them with unproven players. I think that's what worries me. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously you've got, I think it's about 30 million now if you add the Vestergaard and rest of things money together.
Yeah. And that's not to mention the fees from the likes of, who is it? Wesley Hoot, Callum Slattery, Alex Yankovic, Lamina as well, Angus Gunn, that all adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I just feel like there's just that lack of urgency from the club. And there's too much satisfaction with the bare minimum in and around your club. And I feel like that's what's letting you down, really.
Yeah. I just think that we are in such a position where if our new signings don't make the step up and don't kick on, we are in serious trouble. And that's a scary position to be in when, it'd be one thing if we were bringing in proven players from, who've played in the Premier League or played in the top league or whatever. We are relying on players stepping up from either the Championship or the French league, as it is from Romain Perrault. But mostly as well for squad depth, we're relying on academy players with zero experience. And that's what really, really worries me about us in a minute. A lot of people have tipped us to get relegated this season, and I can absolutely see why. Our squad is not great. Do I think we'll go down? I'd have to say no, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we did. Personally, I've got us finishing 16th. I think we'll scrape it. I think we'll get enough wins. I think Armstrong will get enough goals. I think Che will step up again and have another good season. I just think we'll do enough. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think there'll be a few worse teams than us. So I've got us finishing in 16th.
Yeah, and I've got the exact same, 16th. I feel like you're in a similar position to Burnley, and I feel like it was a toss-up between you two. They always seem to stay up. You always seem to stay up. But I feel like this year, one of you's gonna take the club.
I would say the same. Yeah.
I went with Burnley just because I don't know really. I don't know what I did. Obviously you've done better business in terms of getting in Armstrong, but
yeah.
Have you ended up with a better squad than last season? Would you say?
Have we ended up with a better squad? No, we haven't. We've lost quality. That's what it is. That's what it always is, and that's what is worrying. Again, like I said, we're relying on players stepping up. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we will do just enough, personally.
Yeah, I know a lot of people fear that have a lot of people have got you in their bottom. You're in their bottom three in a lot of people's predictions.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those that you need some more signings. There's no way your club can be.
Well, that's it. We need to replace Vestergaard, of course.
And you need back because you can't play Gineppo at left back if Perraud gets out.
Well, this is the thing, but I mean, I'm very confident that we will only get one more centre back, and that's it. And that's exactly what I mean when I say it's a that'll do mentality. And people will go, Saints fans a lot of the time have gone, oh well, we haven't got any money. It's always been our sort of philosophy to sell on players and things like that. I mean, we haven't got much money, but we've got enough money to make some signings. Let's make that clear. We've got around about the 35 million pound mark now sitting in our bank account. That's if we're not using it to balance the books, that we could use. But even if we don't, there is literally so much cheap and good business to be done out there for just a bit of depth. If we just looked a bit harder, there are free transfers to be made for backup left backs. There are free transfers to be made, or £1, £2, £3 million transfers to be made for backup midfielders. There's that business to be done out there. I'd be happy if we went out and bought a good centre back. For me, my first choice would be Tosin Adarabioyo from Fulham. I think he's a very good player. I like him a lot. But even if it was the likes of Semi Ajayi from West Brom, Rob Dickey from Queen's Park Rangers, or looking a bit further afield, you can look at the likes of Ozan Kabak from Schalke, something like that. I think they're all very realistic, and I think that we could quite easily get them in, and it wouldn't be near 35 million pounds. So I don't understand why we can't do that sort of business. I'd be very happy with that and Gary Cahill, and then a sort of free transfer or £3 million backup left back, free transfer £3 million centre mid, and then maybe another attacker, and then we're fine. But we don't do that business. We never do, and it really annoys me. Sorry, I went a bit of a rant there, but
it's exactly that. I mean, you look at, I know you don't need another right back, but you look at Dumfries gone to Inter for £12 million. There are players out there for around £10 million that are just there for the taking, really, and it's just up to your club whether they want to pursue that. But it doesn't look like they do. So
I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously for Dumfries, I don't think we'd be able to get Dumfries because, of course, for Inter.
No, I'm just saying in terms of there's quality players out there for very cheap money.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'd have Dumfries worth way more than 12 million, but that's just me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. It's a mixture of lack of pull. I don't think we've got any kind of transfer pull anymore. I genuinely think most footballers would sooner pick. I would say the only clubs we might have slightly more pull than maybe is Burnley and Norwich, and that's about it. You could argue
and Palace because you got Armstrong from them.
Well, yeah, but I think that's more because Armstrong knows he's going to play week in, week out for us. Does he know he's going to play week in, week out at Palace? I don't know. So I think personally it's because, I mean, we certainly wouldn't have been able to pull in Joachim Anderson or Mark Guehi, I don't think. So I think they got more pull than us. So I think it's literally Norwich and Burnley, and that's it. And that's a sad state to be. It's a sad state of affairs. But I mean, I'm hopeful that we'll stay up, and I'm hopeful that we'll get new owners before we get relegated, and then we'll just see how it goes from there. we'll just have to wait and see. It's just a very, very depressing time to be a Southampton fan, but it is what it is. So that is Southampton. Let's move on then to Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham's business has been strange. Of course, all the talk has been around one player, and we'll get onto that in a second. Their business, they brought in Brian Gill from Sevilla for £22.5 million. And they've also got Pierluigi Golini and Christian Romero on loan from Atalanta. And Ryan Sessegnon returns from loan from Hoffenheim. And then going out, Juan Foyth went to Villarreal for £13.5 million. Toby Alderweireld went to Al Duhail for £11.7 million. Joe Hart went to Celtic for £1.7 million. Danny Rose, Paulo Gazzaniga, and Eric Lamela all went to on free transfers to Watford, Fulham, and Sevilla, respectively. Alfie Whiteman has gone on a season-long loan to Degerfors. And then you've got Gareth Bale returning to Real Madrid and Carlos Vinicius returning to Benfica. For Tottenham, I think that their season's a bit up in the air at the minute. Obviously, they had a very good start with the win against City. I think it's a case of A, whether Harry Kane stays, and B, if Harry Kane does stay, is he still going to want to play for them, essentially? That's what it boils down to. Because at the minute, Carlos Vinicius has returned to Benfica. Whether they get him permanently, we don't know yet. And then if not, they really haven't got an out-and-out striker if Harry Kane goes as well. Son played there today. He's not an out-and-out striker, in my opinion, still. Jason, what do you think about the very little business they've done? And what do you think about that squad?
I think the Spurs squad is average. Let's say the least. I think they've done okay. I mean, Romero's I think is a very good signing.
Yeah.
From Atlanta. They definitely need a striker because it looks like Kane is going to leave. Obviously, didn't feature today. Son can't do it all on his own all season. No. Lucas Moura was very good today, actually.
He can play there. He can play, but for me, neither Lucas Moura or Son are out-and-out strikers. Lucas Moura maybe more so, but certainly not Son.
I don't know. Don't think Gill featured, did he, today?
No, I don't think he did.
No. Yeah, that's been about. They were only players they brought in. Obviously, the Melo went the other way. Yeah, I just feel like it's going to be another. It's a weird one because obviously with Nuno in charge now, you just don't really know how it's going to go. They got a big win today.
Yeah.
I think it's the same sort of Spurs. Yeah. I can't really see them doing too much, to be honest.
No. I think. Sorry, go on.
I've got them in 8th.
Okay. Yeah.
They've got the Conference League as well, obviously.
Yeah, I think for Spurs, it's very interesting because I think they're going to have to look at a lot of their young players who, like say, I mean, you saw Oliver Skipp start today. Japhet Tanganga started today as well. Ryan Sessegnon coming back from his loan at Hoffenheim. They're all going to have to be used this season. It depends, really. I think it's going to be really interesting, actually, to see what sort of focus, if any at all, Nuno puts on the Conference League. Because we haven't, obviously we've seen the qualifiers. We've seen, obviously me and you both have been kind of following them, maybe more than most. But I really enjoy it. And, some teams have played good teams. And pretty close to what they would if it was the Europa League. Some teams have played some pretty shocking teams. We haven't really seen too many of the teams from the top 5 leagues come into it yet. So we don't know how seriously they're going to take it. You would imagine, as always, the Italians never really take it seriously, not even in the Europa League.
I think Roma are in it, aren't they?
Yeah, I dread to think what sort of teams Roma are going to play in that. But yeah, Spanish teams, possibly. German.
I think Spurs could win it if they wanted to. I mean, very easily.
That's the thing. It's a very big case of whether Spurs want to win the Conference League. Yeah. Because if you think about it, they haven't won a trophy for a very long time. Would winning the Conference League stem much of that flow? I don't know. It's a new competition. And listen, I I'm all for new competitions. I like it. I like the idea. It's whether Spurs want to go and win it. But I mean, how do you think that their season's going to go in terms of the squad that they're going to use, the young players that they're going to use, and how do you think their attitude's going to be towards the Conference League?
I don't think they'll take. It's going to be a weird one because it's an experimental season for Nuno.
Yeah.
In terms of he's got to find his best 11. I don't think he knows his best 11 yet. I don't know.
I don't think he's close to his best 11.
Best 11 yet, to be honest.
Sorry?
I don't think anyone knows Spurs' best 11 yet, to be honest.
No.
In terms of young players, I was very surprised Oliver Skip started for Spurs.
Yeah.
He actually had a very good game as well. So that's a big call from Nuno already, which shows he's not afraid to make the big calls.
Yeah.
Also played Eric Dyer centre back ahead of Romero, the new signing.
Sanchez played alongside him.
Yeah, and Sanchez as well. So yeah, he's not afraid to make big calls, Nuno. I do think they just. I struggle to see where the goal is going to come from without Son. So unless Son, if Son gets injured, I think they finish.
If Son gets injured, they are in quite a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, if they'd have got Lautaro Martinez in, I might have been talking about a different Spurs season.
Well, that one's gone a bit quiet, but what do you think they'll get any other players in? I mean, realistically, I would be very, very surprised if Daniel Levy let Harry Kane go and didn't bring a striker in, because that would be suicide.
I don't think Kane wants to play for Spurs again, but at the same point, it's getting very late in the window for Spurs to find a replacement if he does go.
I think that it could be some deadline business coming from Spurs.
Yeah. I mean, if they really want like that one player, they've got enough money to just chuck at them. If he does go for 150 million.
The thing is, Inter will know that Spurs are desperate, and they will ask for a lot of money.
I think Martinez is going to sign a new deal at Inter.
You think so?
Mm.
So, I mean, who do you think they can get? Like, who's out there that you would say that Spurs could?
I would say from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Luis Muriel.
Zapata signed a new deal, didn't he, or is he going elsewhere?
He was going to go to Inter, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What's really happened with that? There was talks of that Fiorentina striker, wasn't there?
What, for Spurs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a strange one. I mean, I actually think, because I don't know what Everton's plans are for. Obviously, they've got Calvert-Lewin. Richarlison can kind of play there as well, but it depends what their plans are for Moise Kean. I think Moise Kean could be a bit of a shout. Yeah. It's not going to be a Kane replacement.
Not exactly. Kane's shoes are probably
very big deal, but I think realistically, actually, I think they need two players, like two signings. I think Martinez again would have been the first choice, but they're going to need someone.
Like a backup striker, is it?
Sorry,
they've not even got a backup striker.
No, they don't have any strikers really. They don't have any out-and-out strikers anyway, huh?
Carlos Vinicius isn't there anymore, is he?
No, he was a loan from Benfica. To be honest with you, I don't actually know whether they're in talks of making that permanent, whether that's just like not gone through yet. If they do, then that is good, I suppose. And I think Carlos Vinicius could do a job, but he's not going to be Harry Kane. So they would need someone else still, in my opinion. But because of the whole Kane saga and everything else going along with that, I've got not Harry Kane. I've got Tottenham Hotspur finishing in 10th place. I know they got a good win against Man City. I just think with the whole Harry Kane saga, if he stays, is he going to play? I don't know. Is he going to want to play? I don't know. If he goes, who are they going to get, if any? I don't know. I just think it's going to be a very here and there season. But that is the case for Nuno. And I think Nuno should be allowed that time because it's a very difficult job going into Spurs right now. It's not a particular. A lot of teams turn Spurs down, and it's understandable why, because of how difficult it is going to Spurs in a minute. So Nuno's taken on a big job, but I think he should be rewarded for that with a bit of time. And whether they want to win the Conference League or not, we'll see. But yeah, Spurs in 10th for me. And Jason, you said whereabouts? 8th?
8th, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so that's Spurs then. So next up then, we're going to move on to Watford. So coming in for Watford, Imran Louza from Nantes for £9 million. Emmanuel Dennis from Club Brugge for £3.6 million. That is a bargain. Matty Pollock for £270,000 from Grimsby Town. Josh King and Danny Rose and Ashley Fletcher, all on free transfers from Everton, Tottenham, and Middlesbrough. And Quadwo Bar as well from Rochdale. And you've got Urak Kuka on a season-long loan from Parma. Pisa Atebo on a season-long loan from Stoke. Kwasi Sibo, Domingos Kina, and Cucho Hernandez all returning from loans at UD Ibiza, Granada CF, and Getafe, respectively. Going out then, Craig Dawson, of course, went to West Ham for £2 million. Ben Wilmot went to Stoke for £1.58 million. Filip Stuparovic left to Metalac on a free transfer. Pontus Dahlberg has gone on a season-long loan to Doncaster Rovers. Adalberto Penaranda has gone to Las Palmas on a season-long loan. Jorge Segura has gone to CD America on a season-long loan. Philip Zinkernagel has gone to Nottingham Forest on a season-long loan. Tom Delly Bashiru has gone to Reading on a season-long loan. And then 3 players' contracts expired. Jerome Sinclair, Carlos Sanchez, and Ashraf Lazar. So, for Watford, listen, they had a very good start against Aston Villa. I think they've done some shrewd business. Emmanuel Dennis for £3 million is an absolute steal. That's a player that we were looking at before, and I believe we were looking at around about the £10 million plus mark for Emmanuel Dennis. So how they've got him, I imagine he only had a year left in his contract or something. They've got him for £3 million. That is a steal, and he's already off the mark for Watford. So he'll get goals, I think, for them. I just think they've got a very good squad. Some players like obviously Cucho scored off the bench as well, returning from his loan. I'm excited to see Nathaniel Chalabar back in the Premier League as well. I just think in some areas, possibly defensively, they're lacking a little bit of quality. So I think they'll just miss out, and I think they'll finish in 18th. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like the squad. I mean, Emmanuel Dennis is probably one of the signings of the window in terms of the price.
Value for money. Yeah.
I think he's a fantastic signing. Ismail Sarr, I mean, how no club has snapped him up, like, bought him, basically, I will never know.
Do you know what it is, though? I think Watford played their cards brilliantly with it because they rated him so highly in terms of price that I don't think any club was realistically going to come in and get him. So they managed to keep him by doing that for the Championship season. Now they're back up. Ismail Sarr has more reason to stay at Watford, and he knows he's going to get game time at Watford. If he has another season, I think he'll go. But
yeah, I think if Watford go down at the end of the season, I think he'll leave.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think even if they stay up, if he has a good season, I think he'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Watford have got a good side, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they did stay up. But for me, I just think, I don't know. I just think they're going to go down.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I just feel like there's maybe other teams around them that probably a lot more likely to pick up points. Obviously, they got a good win against Villa, but it was a Villa side that's very fresh. Yeah, I don't know. I like their business they've done. I do fear for them defensively as well, like you said.
Yeah.
Haven't really invested defensively at all, apart from Danny Rose on a free at left back.
That again, but that's shrewd business. You know, it's decent enough business.
No, I've got them in 19th, just above Norwich.
Yeah, but what Watford have done is exactly the sort of business I think Southampton should have been doing. Like cheap business, cheap business. Listen to these signings. Emmanuel Dennis for £3.6 million. You're telling me that we don't have more pull than Watford? I mean, or at least as much pull as Watford. You know, I mean, £3.6 million could have been quite easy to get him. He's played in the Champions League. He scored a double against a Bernabeu against Real Madrid. He's got quality.
They've only spent £13 million.
Yeah,
but you look at outgoings, it's about 10 million.
But you look at other signings they made. Josh King on a free. That's shrewd business. That's shrewd business. This is good players in the squad. Yeah. Danny Rose as well. Even Ashley Fletcher. Even though Ashley Fletcher maybe seemed a bit of a strange one, he had a good season for Middlesbrough.
A lot of strikers, haven't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. But they've done some shrewd business. I just think it's exactly the sort of business that we should have been doing all over the pitch. You know, in terms of in all sorts of positions, but we just never do it, and that's really frustrating. But in terms of they've done that shrewd business, but I think the quality that they have already in the squad, particularly defensively, isn't going to be enough. So I think they will unfortunately go down, as we said, Jason.
I agree.
So next up is West Ham United, penultimately West Ham United. We've got signings coming in. Craig Dawson from Watford for £2.7 million. Alphonse Areola on a season-long loan from Paris Saint-Germain. And Xande Silva is returning from his loan at Aris Thessaloniki. Going out, Felipe Anderson to Lazio for just over £2 million. Fabian Balbuena has gone to Dynamo Moscow on a free transfer, and that is pretty much it. For West Ham, it's a strange one, really, for me, for what's going to happen for them this season. Of course, they had an unbelievable season last year, and you know what? I would love nothing more to see them get in the Champions League. However, I do think they might have got touched a little bit in the Champions League. So I think Europa League is the better bet for them in the long run, I would say. I'm not saying that they'll go on and win it or have the quality to do so, but I think they've got the quality to get out of the group and go on a bit of a run. See how far they get. But when it comes to, firstly, the Premier League, they haven't done that much business. Not much business at all, really. I think it's a slightly underwhelming window when you consider that their squad wasn't the biggest before, and they're going to need a big squad this season. I don't know. I mean, Mikel Antonio is obviously a terrific player. He's been a terrific servant for them. Craig Dawson is, of course, a fantastic signing at the back. Areola is a brilliant signing for them on loan from PSG. But other than that, they haven't really done a lot, have they, Jason?
No, they haven't at all. And that's why I fear for them this season, because the fact they are in Europe and they've just not got the depth. They've got a lot of depth on the wing, on the width, but not a lot through the middle. Antonio is the only striker.
I found that very strange. I found that very strange that they haven't invested this season of all seasons.
No, exactly. I mean, they still never replaced Haller when they sold him to Ajax.
Yeah.
And they haven't even... The big thing for me is the failing to get Lingard in permanently and haven't really got anyone in for him. There's a big... Obviously, they're trying to alter Ben Rama into being more an attacking midfielder, which is where he played.
He had a good game today, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good game today, but they're going to need more depth. They're going to be playing Thursday, Sunday, and one striker is just not going to be that. Same sort of situation with Tottenham.
Yeah.
Thursday, Sunday with one striker. And I'm surprised West Ham haven't gone out and made some signings this winter, because I feel like they're on the verge of... Well, they were on the verge of taking the next step, sort of, to being a European side consistently, or in and around the top 7, every season. So I'm just really surprised they've got sort of sat back and gone, no, we're happy with what we've got. But
we're happy we've made Europe, and now we're just going to leave it at that.
And that's why I fear for them this season. I really do, but because I don't know how long their players are going to stay fit for, and if Antonio gets injured, if Ben Rama gets injured, then I don't know who's going to fill in those positions. They're going to have to play Yarmolenko up front and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Yarmolenko is a player who, obviously it was a big deal when West Ham signed him, and he hasn't really lived up to that height necessarily. Last season for West Ham, he only made, I think, 7 appearances, and And obviously, but he's gone to the Euros. He's had an absolute blinder at the Euros, and he was obviously used today. I get the feeling Yarmolenko will be used more. Maybe this is, he's like 31, but maybe this is the season where he really steps up. And it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be absolutely furious with what we, the business or the lack of it. I mean, admittedly, they haven't sold much, so they haven't had much money come in. But I mean, they've spent £2 million, on Craig Dawson. That's it. That's all they spent.
I just want to touch on this quickly. I never thought when West Ham signed Felipe Anderson, I never thought I'd see him going to Lazio for 2.08 million.
Yeah, no, I agree. When he was, different gravy at one point, and then it all just kind of went downhill. But yeah, I don't know about West Ham. Of course, there's still a couple of weeks left of the transfer window, so we got to bear that in mind. They could do some very good business in the last couple of weeks, but they are leaving it late.
Yeah, and that's why I fear for them, and that's why I've got them in 13th.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to be able to cope with the Sunday Thursday schedule.
To be honest with you, yeah, I've got them in 12th. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think it would be that different if they made a lot of signings. And maybe they'll finish a bit lower in the table because of the Europa League. But I think they have that quality in the side we saw today. The likes of Ben Rama. Jared Bowen as well is another player. I think they might try and play Jared Bowen up top as well, actually, thinking about it. So they have got players who can play, but they lack, again, a striker, really. That's what they need, a striker. And then other than that, I mean, as things stand, they're keeping hold of Declan Rice. The kind of Chelsea rumours died down after a little while. I would say possibly... would you say a bit of cover in midfield, or would you think they'll be all right?
Yeah, I mean, they've got, I think, Mark Noble on the bench today. They had obviously he's very old now. I think their best 11 is in West Ham's best 11 is probably in and around the top 7, but I fear for their depth with Europe this season. Yeah,
I mean, they've got some young players. I mean, they've got obviously the likes of Ben Johnson, players like that. So that there's some good young players who I'm sure will get minutes in the Europa League. It depends what they want to do in the Europa League, because what would be really disappointing is if, and whether this would be down to David Moyes or because simply David Moyes has his hands tied with the transfers, is that what would be really disappointing is they worked really hard to get to Europe and then they end up playing really weak sides in Europe. I
think they'll take Europe more seriously than the Premier this year.
You think so? I'd like to think so, but again, you'd like to see them battle on both fronts with a few signings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it just doesn't look like they're going to do that.
I have no idea what the financial situation is like at West Ham at the moment.
No, I mean, it's a weird relationship the West Ham fans have with their owners. The two Davids, isn't it? I forget their names. Is it David Goldstein and something else?
Yeah. Goldstein.
Sullivan Goldstein, yeah. But I think obviously they did really well to get to the Europa League last season. They had a bit of investment before that. But they will quickly turn on the owners again if they don't invest this season, because they will struggle without that depth. So let's move on then finally to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Sorry?
Last but not least.
Last but not least, yeah. We know they're not finishing bottom in our predictions. So Wolves then, of course, change of manager with Nuno leaving and then going to Spurs. What's the name of the coach they brought in? He's completely gone out of my mind.
I'll find out for you.
I know he's Portuguese, but that's really bad.
Bruno Lage.
Sorry?
Bruno Lage,
yeah, okay. So, players they brought in then. Rayan Aït-Nouri on a permanent deal from SEO Angers for just under £10 million. Jose Sarr from Olympiacos for £7.2 million. Yerson Mosquera from Atletico Nacional for £4.7 million. Bendeguez Bola from MOL Fervar for £1.8 million. Francisco Trincao from Barcelona on a season-long loan. Rafa Mir from a season-long loan from Huesca. Oscar Burr returning from his loan at Grasshoppers. Bruno Jordao returning from Famalicão. And Connor Ronan returning from Grasshoppers. Going out, Rui Patricio for £10.35 million to AS Roma. Sorry. Leonardo Campana, he's gone on a season-long loan to Grasshoppers. Patrick Catrone has gone on a season-long loan to Empoli. Interesting one there. Renat Dadashov has gone on a season-long loan to Tondela. Matisha Sarkic has gone on a season-long loan to Birmingham City. Ruben Vinagre has gone on a season-long loan to Sporting. Bendeguez Boya has gone straight out on loan to Grasshopper Zurich. William Jose's returned to Real Sociedad, as has Vitinha. He's returned to Porto after their loan spells. It's a real shame, and it's really strange, actually, what's going on at Wolves. Obviously, they came up and they lit the league up in the first season. You know, they really showed. Of course, they had a fair bit of investment. They really showed that you can make the step up from the Premier League and instantly make an impact. They got Europe in their first season. And then, of course, they finished 7th the season after. But it was a little bit more underwhelming for them, of course, because with the cup situation, they didn't get Europe. And then last season was just incredibly underwhelming from them. I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. Obviously, Raul Jimenez with that terrible injury didn't help. But I also think that, I don't know, I just think the flow of investment has kind of stopped. And I guess the owners may have run out of money, or I don't know what it is, but they just seem to have got to a certain level where they could have been, you know, a top 10, top 7 side year in, year out. They could have been the same as Leicester, in my opinion, but they've just gone backwards. And it's really disappointing to see. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I agree. I think they were in a position where they were on the rise. That's kind of just fizzled out. I mean, it was tough for them last season. Lost Jimenez for injury, lost Jota as well to Liverpool. Obviously, they're 2 best players.
It'll be very tough if they lose Neves this year.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got Pedro Neto and Prudence, so probably their 2 biggest threats.
Yeah,
I do think they lack a bit of pace in the midfield, to be honest. I feel like their midfield's quite old.
Yeah, you got Matinho, and then
yeah. And I do fear for them this season. I do. Obviously, Jimenez is back, but he's been out for so long. We're not really sure
what we're going to get from him.
I think they were unlucky to get a point at Leicester. However, second half they were the good side. Obviously, Adama Traore is another big threat as well. He missed a great chance in the first half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fear for them this season, and I don't know why, but it's not been a great window for them.
No.
It's Patricio Sarr, that's kind of sort of like for like.
Yeah, that's very, very like it's essentially just a slightly younger version of Patricio. They're very similar players.
Obviously, they got a left back in. But other than that, it's been a bit dry.
Aït-Nouri was in the squad last season. It was just a loan.
Yeah.
One signing I do think is good. I think Trincao from Barcelona. I think that's a good loan. However, it kind of is retracted from the fact that when Vitinha is going back the other way, and obviously William Jose as well. William Jose didn't really impress, in fairness. I think what it is that this season, I think, is going to be a big season for some of their young players, because they're aging, as you said, in midfield. But I just think that they need some players to step up. I think it's going to be a big season for players like Kiana Hoover. I think he could step up. He may not start from the very beginning, but I think he'll be involved a lot. I think Otasowie, do you know Otasowie, the American? I think he's going to. You froze up for a sec. Do you know Otasowie? Yeah.
Yeah. Have they still got Gibbs White as well?
Still got who?
I think Gibbs White.
Gibbs White, yeah, there's another one. So I think it's going to be big seasons for them. Whether they step up, I don't know. I just think it's going to be another kind of similar season to last year, if I'm being completely honest. And as things stand, if anything, I would say they're a little bit. It's midfield really where I think they struggle. I think up top they've got some good players. Maybe could do with another striker as backup to Jimenez. But other than that, it's midfield where they're going to struggle a bit. Yeah, 12. I've got Wolves finishing in 13th, so pretty similar to you. I just think. Sorry.
I said, is it?
I swear you said the Wolves are in finishing 12th.
No, I haven't said anything for it. Well, position.
Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry. So Wolves, yeah. I just think they'll be okay. I don't think they'll be near relegation. I think they'll be fine with that. But I don't think they're going to really sort of push for the upper echelons of the table. So 13th for Wolves, Jason.
I have got Wolves going back to the Championship.
You being serious?
I'm being serious. I've got them in 18th. There's just a feeling. Way. Yeah, there's just a feeling that's telling me.
Wow.
I just think they're going to struggle this season. Nothing's really standing out to me as them.
That is a big call. With Raul Jimenez back as well.
Pardon?
With Raul Jimenez back.
Yeah, I think that's like almost like a new signing because we don't know how he's going to be like. He's been out for so long.
Yeah. No, I get your point.
Nothing really stands out for me for them this season. I just got a feeling that they're going to struggle this season. I mean, I might be incredibly wrong. Obviously, this is just my feeling. I mean, they could win the league. We don't know, but I just fear for them this season, and I think they might. If there's a shock this season, I think it could be that, and that's my feeling.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hear the points. I do. Like I say, I think there are a couple decisive factors that the likes of Jimenez stepping up after his long injury. We'll see how they get on, but I just think they've got too much quality. I mean, they've still got the core in terms of the back line. Cody, Bolly, Seiss, Dendoncker. So I think in that respect they're okay. It's probably going forward. Even going forward, they've got some good. Obviously, they've still got some very good players. So I think for that reason, I think they'll be fine. But yeah, those are our Premier League predictions for the 2021-2022 season. It's been quite a long stream actually, but I've enjoyed doing it. And it's a shame we didn't have Luke on, but it's a big season. Of course, it is. Every year is. There's some interesting aspects to it, with players like Grealish going to City. But also, players sitting on the fence as to whether they're going to leave, i.e., Harry Kane. And yeah, you've got big players coming in like Sancho and Varane at United as well, coming in from foreign leagues. So we'll see how the league goes.
Just to recap, your bottom three is.
Just to recap. Okay, so I'll do a quick recap then. My bottom three is from the bottom up: Norwich. Norwich, Burnley, and Watford.
Okay, and mine is from the bottom up: Norwich, Watford, Wolves.
Which is interesting. So and then getting Europe top seven.
Top seven.
So from bottom to top.
Yeah.
Everton finishing in 7th, getting Europa Conference League. Leicester in 6th, getting Europa League. Villa in 5th, getting Europa League. Liverpool in 4th, getting Champions League. United in 3rd, getting Champions League. City in 2nd, getting Champions League. And Chelsea winning the league. And you?
I've got Villa 7th, Arsenal 6th, Leicester 5th, Liverpool 4th, City 3rd, United 2nd, and we both agree on Chelsea champions.
Chelsea is champions. Well, I mean, I can't wait to look back on it and see how horribly wrong.
I can't wait to see Wolves in the top 4, and then I'm going to look like an idiot. But
Southampton winning the league, But yeah, I mean, of course, it is just opinions. So please don't think it's anything personal or anything like that. But that's pretty much it. So that's the stream. We will be back, whether it be tonight or anyone else, for our match week 1 review or overview. And also we've got coming up our championship predictions, League One and League Two. So we're doing all of the top leagues, and of course, in probably about a week's time or so, we'll do the National League for you, Jason. So let's big up the National League. We'll maybe get Ahmed on for that as well. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So obviously a lot of other content to come. But thank you so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and please like the video as well. And yeah, we'll see you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.